Good morning, everybody. If I look tired, it's because I am. I'm actually at a conference over in Birmingham, Alabama, and it's an hour difference in time. So now you're really getting my morning voice and attitude and all that good stuff. Again, just continuing in our vein, man, just trying to just have fun talking about why we're the way we are, what we can do about it, what stops us from walking in and enjoying and experiencing everything God has for us. There's an interesting scripture that I like to reference a lot. Jeremiah 1:10 says this, and this is kind of Jeremiah's call when God encountered him and called him into his assignment. See, here's what it says. See, I have this day appointed you to the oversight of the nations and of the kingdoms. And that's not really our message, but here's what he said to do with the nations and the kingdoms. Root out, pull down, destroy, to overthrow, to build and plant. To root out, pull down, destroy, and overthrow, to build and plant. And what I found over the years pastoring and counseling people is that's a great picture of spiritual growth. We talk about how Jesus comes into our life and changes us, and he does. I mean, absolutely, and don't have time to talk about spirit, soul, and body, but we might do that one time soon. But 2 Corinthians 5 says that if any man's, that if any man's a new creature, that old things have passed away, behold, all things have become, my brain's not working a little bit yet, I need more coffee. That old things have passed away and all things have become new. And so some people even teach that, when you become a Christian, you don't have to deal with anything from your past. Some would even say these sloganish statements like it's under the blood. And in the sense of being forgiven, it is, but not in the sense of it affecting you. And so I believe, again, back to this particular scripture, it says to root out, pull down, destroy, and overthrow, to build and plant. And again, my statement is I think that's a great picture of spiritual growth. Here's a way to think about it. 4 of the 6, root out, pull down, destroy, and overthrow, are what you might call negative or destructive. In other words, you're dealing with something that's already there. And then the last 2 are to build and plant. So what that means is that 4 of the 6 are dealing with things that are already in existence, already in operation, already at work. And then building and planting is putting new things in and building new things up, or construction of new things. Children of Israel, God delivers them from Egypt supernaturally, does all these amazingly cool things. And they come out of Egypt, they cross the Red Sea and all that. They go into the wilderness. And then, pretty quickly, I've heard some people say as short as 2 weeks. I don't really know. But they get to the edge of what God and we would call their promised land, meaning the land of promise that God had bestowed on them, given them. And they can't enter because of all the different things going on inside of them. A way to think about it is this, and you've probably heard this said before, it's just a cute way of saying something kind of important, that God brought them out of Egypt, but now he had to get Egypt out of them. In other words, in a way, you could say this, it was easier for God to deliver them from Pharaoh and all of his army than it was to change the way they think about him, God, themselves, and the opportunities and blessings that are available to them. Excuse me while I cough. So all I'm saying to you is this. You can try to philosophize and dance around it all you want, but some of the most important growth work you will do is recognizing what's already inside of me that is contrary to God's best for me. You don't necessarily have to figure out where did it come from, but sometimes you do, just for the cause and effect aspect of it. But let me give you another scripture that kind of says, I think, the same thing, but maybe even in a stronger way that fits our purposes. This is Ephesians 4:22 through 24, and it's in the Amplified version, meaning that it's got a few extra words, so don't be freaked out by that. So it says this, Ephesians 4:22, strip yourselves of your former nature. In the Amplified, in parentheses, it says this, put off and discard your old unrenewed self. Now, I hope you catch that sounds pretty familiar to Jeremiah 1:10. Put off and discard, get rid of your old unrenewed self, which characterized your previous manner of life and becomes corrupt through lusts and desires that spring from delusion. Verse 23, be constantly renewed in the spirit of your mind. Now, it goes on to say, having a fresh mental and spiritual attitude. Fresh, if you stress that fresh means new, changed, etc., not just, it smells better or something. So be renewed in the spirit of your mind. Verse 24 says, put on the new nature, the regenerate self, created in God's image, God-like in true righteousness and holiness. So in these three passages, there's three things. Strip yourselves of your former nature. Put off and discard your old unrenewed self. Where is that? I believe it's in our thought, beliefs, and behaviors. Thoughts, beliefs, and behaviors. So what it's saying is recognize that even as you've entered into this new life with God through Jesus, that your old life is still hanging around in your brain, in your body. You still have appetites for things that are not good for you. You still have habitual reaction patterns that are not good for you. And I would say to you this now, after 40 years and reading and studying, that a lot of that is stored, if you will, in your brain. So what does it say the answer is? Strip off or put off the old man. Remember Jeremiah 1:10 talked about root out, pull down, destroy, and overthrow. So put off the old man and the way he thinks, the way he makes choices, what he runs to and relies on to meet needs, what he leans into when he's tired and frustrated, and how he handles people and things to get his needs met. In other words, all the different ways we've learned to get things that aren't necessarily good for us. And then it says, be renewed in the spirit of your mind. And as a result, is the way I would put it, put on the new man. So here we have this interesting look at what it means to grow. What it means to grow is recognize the old, the BC, before Christ, ways that you thought, acted, chose things. And again, using Jeremiah 1:10, root them out, find them, identify. Remember our three things: identify, challenge, and change. Kind of sounds familiar, doesn't it? Identify, challenge, and change is kind of root out, pull down, destroy and overflow, and then build and plant. So what we're slowly but surely doing through all the different sessions or episodes we've had is just talking about how do you continue to make progress. What is the most important area to concentrate on if you want to be a growing person, but if you want to be a growing Christian? And I would say to you that it's the renewal and renovation of the soul. And we're just going to keep plugging away, man, keep talking about it. And love you guys, and I will see you next week.